Welcome to Willow's Vintage Homestead. I am Willow and I have just dyed my hair. Thank you for noticing. So what I do, because I can't use chemical commercial dyes, it burns my skin, is I use a combination of henna and indigo. The henna is orange, the indigo is blue. Together they make a lovely dark brown, and that is what I have used. But I had a lot of extra indigo dye left over and I didn't want to just waste it. So I thought I would play around with it and see if I could make actual like fabric dye out of it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just messing around. But let me also show you another kind of dyeing that I use in some of my basket materials. That's a traditional way of dyeing fern root black. So this is a dye pot, actually. This is a rusty iron pot, and it's got tin cans and just rusty junk I've found around the property here. And what I'm dyeing in this pot is bracken fern root for basket making. And here's the root as it comes out of the ground. You want to smash this all up until you can get the fibers out. And then once the fibers are out, they're a brown color like this. So you have to dye them so that they retain that nice black color for your baskets. So what you do is you get iron. Iron gets soaked up by the plant fibers. So it used to be that back before, the iron like this was here in the area, they would just find, soil with a lot of iron in it, or mud with a lot of iron in it, and soak the fern root for a long time until it turned black permanently. So this is my batch of fern root that I got this last January and cleaned up, and now it's been in here for almost a week, and this is ready to weave with once it dries out. And obviously I gotta clean it, trim it, all that, but the point is that the iron just naturally gets sucked up into the bracken fern's roots, and they go from the brown to permanently black. And that's the black that you see in baskets of Central California. So the second dye I want to show you that I'm going to be playing around with a little bit and experimenting, because I don't know how this is going to go. Let's find out. This is indigo, and it starts out this green color, and that's now oxidized to this really pretty purplish. Indigo is the color of blue jeans. That's the dye, the plant dye that blue jeans comes from, or, well, you know what I mean. Anyway, so I just dyed my hair, and so I just have this extra left over. I didn't want to waste it. What it looks like when it comes out of the package, I'm trying to do this one-handed for one thing. So here's the henna powder, which turns orange. That's step one. And then here's the indigo powder, which is step two. You dye the henna first, and then the indigo powder second. I know that indigo doesn't need mordant, which means it doesn't need a chemical to fix it to the fabric. You just basically dip it in there and it just sticks to the fibers, whether it's wool or cotton or whatever it is, just grabs on there. In fact, your hands can turn very, very blue if you handle this stuff too much. So I'm going to use gloves, but I thought that I would try making a solution out of this and try just dip dyeing some fabric and just see what happens. I've done some dyeing before of wool. Back in the day, back a while ago, I used to make yarn for sale, and this is the original color of the wool. It's kind of this brownish grayish. I added food coloring. This one is just green food coloring with a couple drops of yellow to get the green that I want. And then this orange here is actually, believe it or not, Winnie the Pooh cake dye, paste dye from, I think it's Wilton. And I have my formula on here, Pooh Gold. And then green food dye plus 2 drops of yellow food dye. And then it's a Shetland roving, turns out. And then I just used vinegar as a fixative. I got it really, really, really hot and just let it soak for a little while. I dip dyed it, so that's why it's variegated like that. So it's fun to experiment with stuff like this. You can use Kool-Aid, you can use food dye. Just read up on if you need some kind of a fixative, a mordant like vinegar or alum or tin or whatever the thing calls for. To make it permanent into your fibers. Now, since this is already been made into a paste for my hair dyeing. It's not a plant powder anymore. It's already incorporated. So the powder is already, it's kind of like making a roux for a soup or something, where you want to incorporate small amounts of water in until it's a paste. If you dump a bunch of water in, it's just going to get lumpy and not good. But anyway, so this is what I've already got. And again, it's oxidized. That's why it's purple like that. So if I mix this up a little bit, you can see the original green color under that pretty oxidation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add more water to this, and more water until I end up with a nice solution. And I'm not using my water here because it's full of iron, and I don't want to dilute the color of what this could be. I don't know what it's going to be, so I don't want to already make it too dark by adding iron, which is a mordant, but with indigo, you don't need a mordant. So I'm going to use some bottled water here to keep it pure. So I've just poured some water in there. I'm going to continue mixing up my stuff, my indigo solution, until it's thinner and thinner, so it's not lumpy, so that it's nicely incorporated. What you're going to want is the stuff that's going to show up at the top, I think, if this goes as I'm hoping it will. And this is now kind of a thin slurry. I'm just using just a willow stick I found on the ground. So what I think should happen is it will form an oily, well, I don't want to say scum, but you know, it's for an oily film. There we go. An oily film on the surface as this settles out, because this has to sit for at least a day. I'll read up some more on this and let you know what the end result is of what I should be doing, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to pour this in my handy dandy bucket. There's still some stuff in here, so I'm going to pour some more water. Okay, so I've got about half a gallon of water in here. That was about, I don't know, 3/4 of a cup or something like that when I started out. So let's see what happens. We'll come back to this tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a nice film on the top that's the indigo dye, and then all the sediment plant materials will have settled to the bottom. Oh, and I'm going to put the lid on loosely so that no little critters fall in there. I've had lizards and things find their way into buckets and drown, and that's not nice for anybody, and it'll ruin my dye too. So I'm going to just set this on so air can still get in to oxidize this, but no critters will find their way in and die. Okay, it is the next day. I did take a peek in here this morning, and I saw that there was it looked like some settling of the plant material to the bottom. Step 1, check. And that there was an oily film on the top that was purple. Step 2, check. So let's take a look and see. Yep, sure enough. Let me move the camera here. Yep, that purple oily stuff, I'm hoping will dye this little scrap of linen that I found in my stuff. So I'm just going to give it a try and see what happens when I dip this in here. That's green so far. I think what it does, if I was reading online, is that you let it oxidize and it should turn blue. It just looks kind of brownish right now. Looks very unimpressive at the moment. Looks like there is a little bit of blue on there. Oh, and there's some on my gloves too. So some of it is turning. I'm not sure if it has to cure longer or if it's only the oily purple stuff on the surface that's doing the blue, because that's very obviously your classic denim blue color. And it's there in some spots. Looks like it might be darkening up a little bit as it sits. I'm going to just try laying it on top again, on top of those oily spots. Alright, well, let's give it a minute and see if it does anything. Right now it's kind of greenish brown with a few little blue spots. Let's see if it gets any better. Let's put this, let it continue to oxidize and see what happens. About 10 minutes later, it's essentially the same. There is a little more blue on it. But in that 10 minutes, I took the opportunity to read up a little more, and it suggests leaving it in the dye bath longer. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in here for about 10 minutes and just see what it does. This is all an experiment again. It doesn't look like your traditional indigo dye, in that when you buy it from a place, it's just blue. And I think it's been processed or oxidized in some way. I don't actually know. But I'm going to let that soak for about 10 more minutes and just see if it picks up anything from there. Because I know when I do it in my hair, it definitely has a blue cast. Like when I'm washing it back out of my hair, there's a lot of blue in the shampoo and in the soap that continues to come after 2 or 3 days after I've freshly done it. Okay, I've let it go for a good 15 minutes now, and I've been reading some more. And I guess what you're supposed to do is it's considered the magic dye because it's this kind of yucky green color, but when you let it dry, it will transform to the classic indigo blue that we're all used to. So let's set it out and see if it do what it do. Well, so far this is turning out very meh. It's linen, so that might be part of it. It's not wool. Maybe this absorbs better on animal fibers like my hair. But let's see what happens. There's a few more dips. I've also been reading up, and I'm seeing every single website I'm looking at has different advice. Some say to let it oxidize. Some say don't let it oxidize. Some say that you need to fix it with vinegar. Some say you don't need any mordant at all. I'm looking at 10 different sites and getting 12 different opinions, so I'm not sure what is correct with how to do this exactly, but I'll give it a few more shots. Why not? Well, I was thinking maybe it was because it was a plant fiber, but it just sort of never got any better. So I took some kind of ivory colored wool I had sitting around, some raw wool, and tried dyeing that for a while. Gave me kind of an interesting, it's almost the same color as what you'd get with henna, weirdly, and that was indigo, so I don't quite know what happened there, but anyway, long story short, blue is not what I got out of that indigo, so I don't know quite why, and I think it might be that it shouldn't have oxidized. So I'm going to keep experimenting with that and see what's going to give me an actual blue color out of my excess dye that I often end up with. So the journey continues. Thanks for coming along on my little plant dye adventure. It was not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. You can spend a lifetime learning about plant dyes. That is not my jam, but I just thought I'd mess around a little bit. So if you like what you saw, find me on Patreon. Do the usual subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know the drill. So anyway, see you again next time on Willow's Vintage Homestead. Thanks. Bye.